to this installment of Unsung Sluts with Stacie and Tabitha.
What the hell was that?
That's my professional historian voice.
Oh, I didn't know we were being professional.
Well, we're talking about women of the revolution, so I felt like I had to be like...
Yeah, since here in America.
Yep.
America.
Specifically the United States, because Canada has their own thing going on.
Yeah. Well, they have Canada Day,
which also was recently.
July
Happy
1st.
Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day to all of my lovely Canucks. I'm adopted by some Canadians because of my love of hockey.
Nice. I don't care about hockey, but I have some Canadian family as well.
No, I love hockey, and then I have Henriette and Kevin.
I like hockey
games.
Me. Yeah, you're vouched for.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here in America, we just celebrated the 4th of July, and that got us thinking about, revolutionary sluts.
Yep. The women, so in my research, I came upon more names than I thought I was going to. And
yeah, that's really cool.
So because we ran into so many women that we think you should know about, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Mm-hmm. So get ready.
It's not just that we found so many, it's that some of them, they did this one thing.
Yeah.
It's not like if we talked about Marie Antoinette and that would fill like 3 episodes of knowledge.
Yeah.
Some of these, they're really important and they're really cool and they're badass, but it's more of a blurb than it is a full story. So we decided to turn this into a game.
Yay.
Yeah.
That I'm going to be bad at.
That's okay. Because we're making up the rules of this game, so we're going to just break them as needed.
Because rules are really like just suggestions, I feel like, most of the time. Like, don't kill people. But also, like, still there's like a little bit like, well, what if they're trying to kill me? I'm going to kill them.
Yeah,
like,
It gets into like Florida stand your ground type shit. Anyway.
All right.
Anyway.
We're not talking about gun laws.
No, we're not. That's another episode and probably just a different podcast. But what we did was we each chose 5 badass women to talk about from the Revolutionary War era, America's Revolutionary War. And so we'll have 5 minutes each to talk about our woman. Mm-hmm. And then when you have a timer go off, this is what we'll hear. This is the buzzer. It was this or
so when
maybe a cannon.
When the band starts to play, it's time to march on to the next slut.
That's correct. Very good. That's great. Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
So these women, several of them that I'm going to talk about, you should actually know about. And if you don't, then you didn't go to school in California, at least for a couple of them, because they have been in the history books, but mostly like a sentence or 2 mention.
Yeah.
So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Phyllis Wheatley, who I feel like if you haven't heard about her...
Oh, yeah, I got to start the timer.
Oh, good.
Are you officially starting?
No, I'm not. First, let me do like a 5-minute preamble. And then...
You don't get to do a preamble.
I'm an American. I can do whatever.
Oh my god.
Okay, start it. Okay,
yeah, I'm starting it right now.
And Phyllis Wheatley was born in West Africa.
Do not talk too fast because they need to understand us.
She was sold into slavery at the age of 7 or 8 by a local chief. So she was born and raised into slavery in Africa.
Oh.
So she really didn't know anything else until she came to the United States on a boat called the Phyllis, after which she was named, on July 11th, 1761. She was then purchased by the Wheatley family in Boston, and the Wheatleys were moneyed. They had several slaves, and Phyllis, being so young, became kind of an assistant to their daughter. Not an assistant, a slave. There was like their daughter's slave.
Okay.
So the daughter was 18. Her name is Mary, and she taught Phyllis to read.
Oh.
So first of all, this is a family that the daughter could read.
Okay,
so that tells you something.
Okay.
And they saw in Phyllis this great potential, so they decided to educate her, first of all, more than any slave and more than most women.
Okay.
So she basically, by the age of 12, was being educated by Mary and by the family's, the son, John Wheatley. Nathaniel. John is the father. And receiving an education. And by the time she's 12, she's reading Greek and Latin classics. By the time she's 14, she's written her first poem, which is titled "To the University of Cambridge, New England." So this is hard. Fast forward. I'm just going to fast forward.
That's fine.
I have a bunch of stuff, but I feel like I don't have enough time.
Some of these women will need a do-over.
There were people who didn't believe that she had written the things that she wrote, and so she actually had to prove herself in court to the governor of the lieutenant governor of Massachusetts and his assistant both had to verify that she actually had written the poems that she wrote. And on September 1st, 1773, her first book of poetry was published, making her the first African American to publish a book of poetry and to make a living off of her writing.
Wow.
So both as a woman and as an African American, she broke records and became the first. The family, as soon as her book was published, she was emancipated. Which actually wasn't it wasn't really a great thing for her, because ultimately it ended up that she ended up poor. In 1779, she submitted a proposal for a second volume of poems because she needed money. She had lost 2 children. She met a guy named John Peters, who was a black grocer. They ended up struggling to afford to live after the war. And she lost children. In 1779, she tried to publish a second book of poems, but no one wanted to give her money because she was a freed slave. So there was no way.
Like the novelty had worn off? She's not special anymore because she's just a black woman. Yeah. Okay.
And I think that when she was published the first time, it was almost like, hey, look what our slave can do. Her husband was ended up going to jail for debt, and so she had to go to work as a scullery maid. And this is a woman who, even though she was a slave, she never did housework. She never had to, she basically was a companion and then was raised as a member of the house family. She was even waited on by other slaves. So she was kind of almost adopted and treated like family and then set free. Unfortunately, she died at the age of only 31.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I thought she was an old lady.
Yeah. A lot of people have this idea. I even thought that she lived a longer life than that. But no, she died 1784 at the age of 31, and largely because she was not accustomed to domestic labor, and it exhausted and
it broke her.
Yeah. So, but she goes down in history as the first African American writer to publish a book of poetry and one of the first women writers to ever make a living at being a writer. So I feel like mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we know her name.
I got a lot in 5 minutes.
Look at you. Wait.
Yes! I did it!
High five.
Nice.
All right.
So, look her up. She's cool. All right.
Yeah, she's super cool. Yeah, I knew the name, and I knew she was a writer. But that's it.
Excellent. Well, now you know a little bit more.
Just a little bit.
All right.
That was good.
That was good.
Girlfriend, that was really good.
I'm very proud of myself. Let's see if I can keep this trend going.
Yeah, that was perfect. Oh, it's fucking hot in here.
Sorry.
All right.
Well, you're wearing it's summer and you're dressed like it's fall.
My office is really cold. I came straight from work.
I know. You need to have backup clothes. Your backup clothes.
Wear a bikini over here. All right.
All right.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, here I go. Ready? Start. Okay, I'm going to tell you about Prudence Cummings Wright. Okay. Born in Hollis, New Hampshire, she had 2 brothers. Her father was a town clerk. She was a rabid patriot. But members of her family were loyalists. So, awkward. In 1761, she married David Wright, a private in the local militia. They had 11 children. Ready? David, Prudence Cummings, Mary, Wilkes, Caroline, Liberty, Devard, Patience, Artemis, and Daniel. She was a militia commander during the American Revolution.
Nice.
That's what she's known for. She was 35 years old. She was the mother of 5 when elected by the townsfolk to command a women's militia known as Mrs. David Wright's Guard, based in Pepperell, Massachusetts. This was made up of about 30 or 40 local patriot women whose husbands were in the regular militia and gone off to fight. Mm-hmm. The youngest in the group was 17 years old. Bless her little heart. The women dressed in their husbands' clothes and carried really anything that could serve as a potential weapon because their husbands took the guns where they were needed. And I need you to think like farm tools, like pitchforks and shit, right?
Yeah, that's totally what I'm picturing.
Yeah. So she made this woman, Sarah Hartwell Shattuck, as her lieutenant, and the women began organizing patrols of the town and the surrounding areas. Now, in April of 1775, they got word that British loyalists and spies would be using a certain bridge in their town. It's called Jewett's Bridge over the Nassau River. One night...
I swam in that river.
Did you? Mm-hmm. One night, they dressed up like men, they got their weapons, and they hid at one end of the bridge. And Prue and her group jumped out at 2 loyalists who were on horseback coming down. This was Captain Leonard Whiting and Samuel Cummings, her own brother. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? So Prue wanted to apprehend these guys before they realized she was a woman. I don't know if they put on voices like, hey guys, maybe get off your horses. Mm-hmm. So Whiting pulled a gun on her. And then her brother recognized his sister's voice and said, put the gun down. He said, I recognize Prue's voice, and she would wade through blood for the rebel cause. So, let's not fuck with her. Mm-hmm. So Whiting, he didn't think that the women were much of a threat, and he tried to ride past them, and they basically attacked him, got him off the horse, and apprehended him. They arrested him. They held him prisoner. They guarded him overnight in this house. They went to a neighbor's house. They guarded him overnight until they could be turned in to the Committee of Safety. The papers both men were carrying were turned over to the colony authorities. The 2 men, they were actually pretty quickly released on the condition that they would leave the colony and never come back. And Samuel was Prudence's favorite brother. So this actually was something that bummed her out for the rest of her life. It was a huge loss. Mm-hmm. So at this time, women were not paid for militia service. But in 1777, the town convened a committee to compensate Mrs. David Wright's Guard. On March 19, 1777, Prudence Wright Guard was paid £7, 17 shillings, and 6 by the town of Pepperell's Committee of Estimation. The town meeting minutes referred to her guard as Leonard Whiting's Guard because women could not overtly be paid for services performed during the Revolution. So they named it after a dude. Mm-hmm. The bridge they guarded has a granite tablet that reads, near this spot, a party of patriotic women under the leadership of Mrs. David Wright of Pepperell in April 1775 captured Leonard Whiting, a Tory who was carrying treasonable dispatches to the enemy at Boston. He was taken prisoner to Groton, and the dispatches were sent to the Committee of Safety at Cambridge.
Nice. That's very cool.
Well, that's only 4 minutes. Do you have any questions?
So did her brother eventually go back? He's a loyalist, so he's born here, but did...
Not much. I basically just looked up stuff about her. So
yeah.
I assumed
did her husband make it back from war?
Yeah, I think he made it back.
Nice.
Yeah, but mostly it's about her story. Yeah, she's that was pretty badass.
That's pretty cool.
It's what can
I like
we
that
do?
it's recognized. Yeah,
it is.
I think a lot of these women that we came on are like that. What can I do? I mean, what would we do if there's war in our streets? We're not going to sit at home and darn socks.
No,
I don't even know how to darn a sock. So
I do, but I wouldn't be doing that. I would be doing whatever.
Unless they needed socks,
right? Then, like in World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
Did you know that women and men made socks for the soldiers? They're please send us socks. Well, people were sending the most fucked up socks. They finally just said, just send yarn. Just send yarn and we'll make the socks.
Please stop giving us
Please
terrible
stop
socks.
with these horrible socks. We just can't handle it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, there we go.
See, that's what I was hoping for, that sometimes we might actually come in under and have a chance to
Breathe.
To take a break. Yeah. Okay. I'm going? Okay.
Go.
The next woman that I want to talk about is Sybil Ludington. If you went to school in California, you got at least a sentence in a history book about her.
I didn't.
You did not?
No, I didn't know about her till like almost recently.
So Sybil Ludington was born in Fredericksburg in New York, first of 12 children. They lived in a small town. They were farmers. They lived on a pretty large piece of land. On April 26, 1777, Sybil Ludington is known for riding her horse named Star, which is quite lovely, I think, and just something sweet about it. 40 miles through the night in Putnam County, New York, to warn approximately 400 militiamen under her father's command that British troops were planning to attack Danbury, Connecticut. This is on the same night that Paul Revere was riding around, also telling far fewer people on a much shorter trip the same message.
And he was an old dude.
He was an old dude.
silversmith.
And that's why you had to have somebody young. But so that's the kind of the gist of her story. But I was kind of annoyed that I didn't know more about her. So as I'm reading into her story, I'm finding that there might be a reason that we don't know about her. Because maybe she didn't do anything.
What?
Bad news, right?
Yeah.
So Ludington's book, the first time that Ludington is mentioned in any way historical significance, is in a book in 1880 about the New York City area by a local historian named Martha Lamb. She relied on interviews and letters and records that documented the area to piece together what Ludington's life was.
Okay.
So she doesn't actually provide any documentation in the book as far as her sources are concerned.
Okay.
So historian Paula Hunt believes that there's actually not enough detailed history about Ludington's story to believe that it's true.
Oh, shit.
So she has retold the story, and she has written about how Ludington has been presented in the media. And like how that story kind of touches the women's movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to get like political, when we're talking about independence, but particularly she says embellishments like the name Star, which I, again, thinks it's like one of the sweetest parts of the story, and the 40-mile distances are both exaggerations. She claims. So in 1996, the National Daughters of American Revolution released a statement saying that there wasn't enough evidence to support their criteria for her counting as a war heroine. Okay. So they removed a book about her from the American Revolution library.
The Dar library?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the weird thing is that Dar also, I couldn't get a date on this, erected a statue.
Yes.
So I don't know if they took the statue down because they didn't have enough info or if they just removed the book. But what Hunt says is that there's something so magical about the story of this young woman going on this epic journey and being a symbol of weakness in her femininity and in her youth. So it creates this like kind of whimsy about the American Revolution. So her theory is that what we're dealing with are embellishments in order to create that type of character. Yeah. So like that she maybe is more of like a Paul Bunyan or, and I think even Paul Revere, because I feel like his impact also has been kind of, fluffed. You know what I mean? To make it just like a little more interesting, a little more whimsical. Name her horse Star. And she's like, so basically, this other historian, Paula Hunt, does not believe that this story is 100% true. So I like to think that it might be. I don't think that her youth would stop her. In fact, if anything, a 17-year-old girl is a grown woman. Yeah. And if the British are coming to kill your family, then you're going to want to tell everybody. Right. So after the war, she got married at 23. She had one son. Her husband died of yellow fever. She ran a tavern and then sold her tavern and was able to purchase a home for her... And then she died. And then she died.
And then she died.
Yeah. Oh, she did apply for a Revolutionary War pension since her husband had served in the military. Her pension was denied. And I will tell you that many of these stories, the government was not giving out pensions to people just like they aren't doing it now.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of this like, no, you don't get a pension. So yeah. And she died in poverty at the end.
I first learned about her through watching Mysteries at the Museum with Kent.
Drunk history for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Good times.
See, television is educational, folks.
No, it totally is. Of course it is. Okay. So, what was I most excited to talk about when
the spies, the sneaky spies?
That's my jam.
Yes,
is, learning about spies and talking about spies. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Yay.
Okay.
This is gonna be all the spies.
Maybe.
Okay.
No, of course it's not all the spies. I got 5 minutes.
Okay.
You're
just one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just alphabetically. Yeah. Okay. My timer has started. I'm going to tell you about Agent 355. So Agent 355 was a female agent or several female agents in George Washington's famous Culper spy ring. We don't know her true identity. The number 355 simply meant female spy. And using females as spies was genius at this time because they could basically roam around and go in between cities and no one would really suspect anything. Because you're like, oh, I'm just visiting my family or my mom is ill. Whereas if you were a man, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Why do you have to move around so much? Okay, so brilliant to have women. So scholars speculate that 355 was a well-bred lady from New York society and a member of a loyalist family. Just like Prudence, right? This would have given her access to officers and their quote-unquote attentions. It's been said that Agent 355 was a beautiful society lady that may have used a little pillow talk to get her intel. And the British officers loved to brag about all the shit they were doing, especially if you think you're talking to a loyalist. And why would a woman be interested in troop movements and plans? They didn't have the head for that sort of thing anyway, did they? And then others think that she may have been a maid in a house where British soldiers were quartering. Like, no, I'm not looking for intel. I'm just cleaning the papers off the desk. And no, I'm not listening through the cracks on the floor. I'm just cleaning it.
She can't even read. She's just a woman.
Exactly. It may be that she was Anna Smith Strong. Now, she was a spy involved in the Culper spy ring. Her job was to signal fellow spy Caleb Brewster that information was ready for him to pick up. And how she would do that, she developed an ingenious signals device that was never cracked by the other side. And what she would do is she would simply hang out her laundry to dry in plain sight of the British soldiers. She hung a black petticoat on her clothesline along with a number of towels or handkerchiefs that were not black. Okay? So the black petticoat signaled that the message was ready to be picked up. And then how many handkerchiefs she put out was what cove out of the 6 coves in front of the bay there. So if it was the black petticoat and 5, the dude was in cove number 5. Go get your shit. Okay, so it's just brilliant. And to anyone that came along, it just looked like she was a woman doing her laundry.
So, and you don't want to stare at a woman's petticoat.
Right. So it may be that Agent 355 was Linda Dara. British troops demanded use of her Philadelphia home for their meetings, and she persuaded the British to allow her to stay in the home. So she sent her kids away, and then they said, everyone in the house needs to go to bed because we're going to talk. But she hid in a closet. And she got all of their intel because she was just writing it all down. And then the next day she said, oh, I have to go get some flour. So then she went to a place that was like a Patriot messaging center. And she said, hey, they're going to attack Washington at White Marsh. So she got the message out. Washington knew about it. And that skirmish was like barely a skirmish, evidently.
Nice.
But I think that Agent 355 was Robert Townsend's common-law wife. He was the head of the Culper spy network. And what we know about Agent 355 was that she was arrested. She was the one who basically got Benedict Arnold fucked because she may have been fucking Andre, who was a British officer. And she was the one that basically got all of the intel. Then they found out that Benedict Arnold was fucking around.
Damn.
Yeah, so like she's the girl.
Yeah.
So she was arrested. Like Arnold found out kind of who turned him in. She was arrested and she was put on a British prison ship where she gave birth to a boy. She's pregnant and she gave birth to a boy and she died on the ship. Okay, so here's the cool stuff about this. Some historians say this didn't really happen. Like she didn't go on a prison ship. There were never women on prison ships, whatever the fuck they say. But get this. She gave birth. No, shut up, Fifes. I'm not done. Fuck you. Seriously, I got like 10 seconds here.
Okay, go.
And this is like super cool.
This is the kicker.
Yeah, this is really cool. So, although many academics say the story is just a legend, Robert Townsend Jr. Oh, she named her son Robert Townsend Jr. So that's why they think that
that's him.
That it's her, this like common law type guy. So she named her son Robert Townsend Jr. This kid was raised as a son of James Townsend, brother of Robert Townsend Sr. Right?
Yeah.
So this guy, when he was raised, he became a lawyer and went into politics. And one of his pet projects was the Prison Ship Martyrs Memorial Fund, which eventually became the Prison Ship Martyrs Monument at Fort Greene Park in New York. And the monument, of course, commemorates the men and women who lost their lives aboard these horrible prison ships. Coincidence?
Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So she supposedly gave birth on this ship, on the prison ship, and she named that kid Robert Townsend Jr.
And then Robert Townsend's family raised him.
James Townsend.
Yeah.
So, like, he raised his nephew as his son, who
Yeah.
then became a lawyer, and, like, one of his pet projects that he worked on really hard.
Because he must have known that his mother... Yeah. Wow. That's interesting.
That's a good one, huh?
That's a good one.
Anyway,
I like that.
love the spies. She was, whoever she was, like, 355 meant lady.
Yeah.
Like, when they've decoded this, it just meant lady. So it could have been lots of people.
Yeah, part of me likes the idea of it actually being a lot of different women just because I feel like, you know, we tell these stories and it's like this one person was brave enough to do this stuff. I feel like during the revolution, a lot of people were doing a lot. You know what I mean? We're doing a lot for the cause.
Right.
So,
well, the quotes about
the cause
her,
being like freedom.
Exactly. They said her contributions are largely undisputed. She hath ever been serviceable to this correspondence, meaning her spy staff, and that she could, quote, outwit them all. And that's from her contemporaries. Like, that's Washington. Although, in the Culper spy ring, no two people knew each other. Okay?
That's smart.
Yeah. Like, if it was you, me, and Kent, like, I would know Kent, and Kent would know you, and I would know you, but you wouldn't know that I knew Kent. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that if you were captured... I mean, they had...
You couldn't rat everybody out.
No, you couldn't. And they had a lot of ingenious ways of spying and playing the spy games. Really cool, like from back then.
Yeah.
Really kind of almost technological stuff. You know, invisible ink and shit.
No, that's
really fun.
Good old Benny Franklin.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. It's really fun.
Yes.
That's why I love the spies.
They're very cool. So, you want to start my time?
Are you ready for me to start your time?
I'm ready.
Okay. Ready, set,
Go.
go.
So my next woman goes perfectly with your spy women. I'm going to tell you about Deborah Sampson, who was born December 17th, 1760 in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Sampson's mother was the great-granddaughter of William Bradford, who was the governor of Plymouth Colony, and she had several other family members that are also Mayflower passengers.
Wow.
So we're talking old school, straight up first white people, you know. So Sampson's, you know, they've lived here for a while, so they're like old backwood country folk now. Sampson's father fucks off, leaves a mom. She's screwed. She's got all these babies, and she's like, can't take care of these babies. So she puts her children into houses of friends and relatives where they can work to earn their keep. It's pretty common at this time when, particularly when a woman was left by a dude. So she ends up in the house of a maternal relative. Her mom joins her, and her mom dies shortly after. And then she's sent to live with this other reverend guy and his old widow mom who's like in her 80s. And this is when she learns how to read. Because the old lady was going blind and she wanted her to be able to read to her, so she taught her how to read. So then she's sent somewhere else to work as an indentured servant.
Yikes.
At this point, she's not sent to school like the other children of the house, because the father didn't believe in educating girls, but the boys did. So the boys would come home from school and share their homework with her. So she ended up learning enough that by the age of 18, she became a school teacher. I was like, whoa, the credentials are a little shady. So she was a summer school teacher from 1779 and 1780. She also worked as a weaver in the winter. She was skilled at skilled beer person at a tavern. Like, I don't know if she was like brewing or doing something.
A witch.
So she was a witch. So she was teaching and weaving, and she would board with various families whose children she was teaching.
Okay.
She also could woodwork and had mechanical aptitude. She was like a person.
Renaissance woman.
Oh yeah. She could do anything. So now I'm going to tell you really quickly about her appearance because it has some bearing on what she's famous for. She was approximately 5'9".
Got it.
Compared to the average woman of the time, which was only 5 feet. Them bunch of shorties back then.
Yeah. So she's our height.
Yeah, she was our height, which I was like, all these good bitches are our height. Her biographer, Herman Mann, knew her personally before writing about her. Yeah.
Okay.
He wrote in 1797 that her waist might displease a coquette, and he reported that her breasts were very small, and she was not attractive.
So even back then, they were fucking being judged.
Yeah. But the reason that this is important is because she disguised herself as a man.
Yeah.
So, at first, she's in 1782. She dresses up in men's clothes and goes to join the army. She does this for a couple of reasons. One, staunch American. She's like old stock. Secondly, work is hard, and she's like, if I'm gonna work, at least I can do something where I can get a pension at the end. So she decides, I'm gonna go be a dude and do this, and then I'll be fed and I'll be like a dude. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So she dresses up as a man. She goes to sign up. She collects her bonus and then doesn't end up meeting her company as scheduled. And I was like, oh, shady. Did she just like take the money and run? No, she was recognized by a local resident when she went to sign her enlistment papers and had to confess that she had dressed up as a man and had impersonated a man, which back then was like, you may as well be a witch. You dressed up like a man, like, ugh. Yeah. So much so she returned the portion of her bonus that she had not already spent, and she was not subjected to any punishment by the army. They were basically like, shh, don't tell anybody that we didn't know that you were a woman. But the Baptist church to which she belonged and had belonged for her entire life found out she dressed up like a man and said that she couldn't come to church anymore because she put pants on. So they said that she had to apologize and beg for forgiveness in front of the congregation. So, oh shit, is my timer about to go? I didn't even get to the good part. Oh shit.
I'll give you a reprieve.
Okay. I'll go as fast as I can now.
No, just do your thing.
May 1782, Sampson enlists again, this time under the name Robert Shirtliff, which sounds like super made up. She joins
I went to school with some named Shirtliff.
Really? It sounds like she was like, oh, my name's Robert Shirtliff. You know what I mean? Right. Okay, she joins the Light Infantry Company of the 4th Massachusetts Regiment under the command of Captain George Webb. She fights, alongside men. she was considered, this troop that she was part of was considered elite soldiers. They were picked because they were taller and stronger than other recruits.
Oh, shit.
So she wasn't just like some little scrawny person. This was a solid woman who it was very easy for her to hide as a man.
Yeah.
So she joins this elite movement, this elite unit. She fights in several skirmishes. On July 3rd, 1782, she takes 2 musket balls to the thigh.
Ouch.
She begs for her fellow soldiers to let her die and not take her to a doctor. And to stop them from taking her to a doctor, she cuts open her own thigh and gets one of the musket balls out. She can't reach the other one, so she just sews it up.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Her leg never fully heals.
Badass.
She has a musket ball in her leg for the rest of her life.
I don't blame her for not going to the doctor, though. That wasn't much better.
Yeah. 1783, she resigns her duties. She spends 7 months as a waiter. The war continues. On June 24th, the president of Congress ordered George Washington to send a contingent of soldiers. During this time, she is sent. She's injured. No, she became ill in 1783, and a doctor removed her clothes to treat her and discovered boobs.
Vaginas.
September 1783, finally, following the Treaty of Paris, November 3rd, she's honorably discharged from the military with no punishment, even after they found out who she was.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. 1792, she petitions the Massachusetts state legislature for pay, which the army has withheld from her because she is a woman. The legislature grants her petition. Governor John Hancock puts his Hancock on that shit. The legislature allows her 34 pounds plus interest back her discharge 1783. She later gives speeches and everything. This was a really interesting fact. She frequently borrowed money from a very close family friend named Paul Revere. Revere wrote several letters to the government on her behalf, requesting repeatedly that she be awarded her pension for her military service and wounds. In 1804 even, Revere is writing the United States representatives in Massachusetts on her behalf. A military pension had never been requested for a woman, and he wrote, "I have been induced to inquire her situation," and then he basically, like, says she's a woman, I promise. She's dressing like a woman now. Like, she's not pretending to be a guy, because they didn't want to give her money if she was still dressing like a man. So Revere was like, no, dude, she's a wife. She has some babies. So she, in 1809, she sends another petition to Congress, and finally her petition is approved. She would have been awarded $960. Instead, she died of yellow fever at the age of 66.
Oh.
Having never received her pension. So.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah, it totally sucks.
Good on Paul Revere being an ally.
Yeah,
Early
I was
ally.
like, that's pretty cool. I will tell you that the town of Plimpton incorporates Sampson as their official heroine of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, badass.
Yeah.
And I went over by a million minutes.
That's okay. That's all right.
All right.
We can do that. Because I'm not, like, the next two I have are really kind of tiny.
Same,
and then the my hammer, the one at the end, that one might be a little bit longer.
Thor's your hammer might be a little longer.
Okay, ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about a Molly Pitcher. It's not her name. It's the name of what they called these women on the battlefield. Molly was a common nickname for women named Mary, and they would carry pitchers. It's not a stretch. So they would carry water for the men for drinking and also for cooling down the cannons. Yeah. Okay. But I'm going to tell you about a specific Molly Pitcher, and her name was Margaret Corbin. She was a wife, basically, but when the war began, it's, if your family was a patriot, or if they were patriots, then it was everybody's war at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the guy. So usually the wives or female relatives of soldiers, they did the laundry, they mended the clothing, they cooked, they took on other chores. They did like the women's work for food and shelter and mending and shit. But a few ventured out of the camps and into the battlefield. And Margaret Corbin was a battlefield woman. In the fall of 1776, she and her husband, they were stationed at Fort Washington, New York, when the fort was attacked by British troops. Margaret's husband handled ammunition for one of the only 2 cannons that the Americans had in this fight. So I've heard different things. I heard that there were only 600 Continental troops to defend the fort against 4,000 Hessian mercenaries. And then I heard that it was 2,400 Continental against like 9,000 Hessian. So I read both, and now I'm telling you both. Anyway, they were fucking outnumbered, and there were 2 cannons. So she and her husband, there was a guy firing the cannon, the husband was doing the ammunition, and she was assisting her husband. Okay. So what happened was the man operating their cannon was killed. So Margaret's husband quickly took his place. Margaret took her husband's place and is handing him the ammunition. Okay. I would love to have seen this, except not.
Not actually be there.
Right. Except not actually be there, because it also sounds fucking terrifying.
Scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Then her husband was struck down and killed.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
So she immediately manned the cannon herself, firing it until she was struck by grape shot that mangled her chest, left arm, and face. Do you know what a grape shot is?
It's like an exploding round, right?
It's not exploding. I had to look it up. So when you're talking about artillery like we are, grape shot is a projectile that's not one solid thing, but like a geometric arrangement of round shot packed tightly into a canvas bag, and then there's a rope that keeps it all kind of tight.
So when it fires, it breaks into a bunch of pieces.
Like a shotgun.
Yeah.
Like birdshot, except huge ass, like, smaller than bowling balls, but like a bunch of cannonballs all together.
Enough to mangle you.
That's what hit her.
Fuck.
Right?
Yeah.
So it looks like a cluster of grapes. That's why it's called grape shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she got hit by one of those. The American forces surrendered Fort Washington, and Margaret was taken prisoner by the British, who released her on parole as a wounded combatant. Her injuries would never fully heal, including the complete loss of the use of one arm. She struggled to make ends meet until 1779, when Pennsylvania awarded her $30 to cover her present needs. Her case was then sent to the Board of War of the Continental Congress, who were impressed by her service, her bravery, her perseverance due to her wounds, her taking over for her husband and watching him die in front of her, and not just like losing her mind and leaving like, fuck this.
Like a woman.
Yeah, right? Man, if they let us fight. So here's what my research said, my dear. She received half the monthly pay of a Continental soldier. And Margaret Corbin and Deborah Sampson were the only women to receive federal pensions for their service in the Revolution. So they're saying that your girl and my,
get it.
that the 2 women that did were your girl and my girl.
Well, I know she never got the full pension. She kept getting like portions of her pension.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't give her what she was fully owed.
You're eating into my time.
Sorry.
The Congress concluded that as she had the fortitude, this is a quote, as she had the fortitude and virtue enough to supply the place of her husband after his fall in the service of his country and in the execution of that task. Oh, this sounds just patriotic now. Of that task, receive the dangerous wound under which she now labors. The board can but consider her as entitled to the same grateful return which would have made to a soldier in circumstances equally unfortunate.
Hear, hear.
They're there. And she had earned the nickname Captain Molly.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, she sounds like a badass.
Yeah.
Can we talk for just like 2 seconds about the fact that we kind of have this idea that mistreatment of veterans is nouveau. And from what I'm gathering, certainly not. Like from the very first American war, it seems like soldiers really had to fight to get to be able to be taken care of. I mean, people who were mangled,
Yeah.
had to fight to,
Yeah, absolutely.
To be able to make ends meet. And I feel like fucked up,
Well,
right?
even as they were fighting, how many of the soldiers didn't have shoes?
Yeah.
And I used to chalk that up to, well, we were a young country. We didn't have, the means, but I don't know that that's necessarily
I
true.
feel like there still was a lot of the reason for the Revolutionary War was people wanted to keep their money. People who had land and who had money wanted to keep their money. And I mean, I understand like wanting to be represented and everything as like a propaganda, how you get the regular Joes to fight your war for you. But I still think you're dealing with, maybe like a lot of rich dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So interesting that you should mention, you can start my time if you want.
Go.
That you should mention the want of shoes and other basic supplies. I'm going to tell you about Esther de Berdt Reed. This story reminds me a lot of Pauline Sabine, who, if you go back to our Prohibition episode, you can learn a little bit about her. Rich white lady gets all the rich white ladies to do something.
Yep.
So she was born in London, England. She was raised by an English businessman who traded with colonists. So lots of women in the area were married to Americans and had moved to America, and they were like cool with Americans because they were doing business. So the war was like not great for them because it meant that they couldn't do business with the colonies anymore. So at 17, she meets this guy, Reed. I'm just going to call him Reed because this isn't his story anyway.
Yeah.
And she falls in love with him. He's studying law. And then he goes back. He's from America. He's come to London to study law. And then he's going to go back to Philadelphia. And she has, the family has kind of promised that they can get married, but is like, we'll see. So he comes back and finds that her father has died and she's destitute. So he's like, I will rescue you. And he takes her and her mom's and they GTFO and they head over to the Americas. So they're totally in love. They've been like writing letters they're separated for about 4 years. So they're writing lovey, oh, I miss you, heart face, whatever. So he comes back, boom, they get down, they got 6 babies, like, wow, get it out there. Right. So Martha, Joseph, Esther, Theodosia, who dies later of smallpox, Dennis, and George Washington Reed. So why would they name him George Washington, you wonder? Well, let me tell you. Because the husband, Reed, this dude, from 1775 to 1777, serves in a personal capacity Mr. George Washington directly as his aide. So Philadelphia is the heart of the nation right about now. And, troops are needing money and whatever. So Joseph Reed, that's the Reed guy. I got his name now.
All right.
Is elected a member of the First Continental Congress.
Yeah.
Boom. So he's like way up there during, this time. So blah, blah, blah. We don't care about him so much.
Okay.
So she's raising all these babies. On July 22nd, 1775, she writes to her brother, the whole continent is so engaged now that they never will give up. Georgia has joined the Congress. Every heart and every hand almost is warm and active in the cause. Certainly, my dear brother, it is a glorious one. You see every person willing to sacrifice his private interest in the glorious contest. Virtue, honor, unanimity, bravery, I think I mispronounced that, all conspire to carry on. And sure, it has the least chance to be victorious. I believe it will at last, whatever difficulties and discouragements we may meet. So June 12, 1780, she has been ill.
Okay.
She wakes up basically from a bout of smallpox, which apparently just like
a cold.
You're just cool. So she wakes up and she's like, I'm going to get all the women together to make money because we're not doing anything. We're just raising 6 babies.
Yeah.
Lazy. So June 12, 1780, she writes a broadside entitled Sentiments of an American Woman in order to rouse her fellow women. P.S. This woman has lived in the United States for 10 years and loves it more than like so many people.
Yeah.
So she writes this rousing letter and gets a bunch of her close elitist friends, including Benjamin Franklin's daughter, which is,
Yeah.
she's kind of a badass also.
Yeah.
And forms the Ladies Association of Philadelphia, and then works together to raise thousands of dollars for the cause. So she wants to give money directly to the soldiers to pay them for their service. So she, in July 4th, 1780, she writes a letter to George Washington, with whom she corresponds. Most of what we know about her is correspondence between her and her brother, and her and George Washington.
Damn. Okay.
So Esther Reed reported that they raised 300,000 continental dollars. I don't know
Yeah.
what the conversion rate is there. So she writes to him and she's like, we got all this money. She wants to give them like a gold coin or whatever. So George Washington does not want to give the soldiers money because he thinks they're going to get drunk. So he writes back to her, if I'm happy in having the concurrence of the ladies, I would propose the purchase of coarse linen to be made into shirts with the whole amount of their subscription. A shirt extraordinary to the soldier will be of more service. So they make a bunch of shirts. And then they sew, each volunteer seamstress sews her name into the shirt that she
What?
makes as they make the shirts, so
Yeah.
that every man that receives a new shirt will know the name of the woman that made the shirt for him, so that he knows who he's fighting for.
Holy shit, that's
They're
brilliant.
trying to give a cause.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she, in September, very shortly after all of this transpires, she is stricken with acute dysentery and dies at the age of 34, just 1 month before her. She's actually 33 because she dies just a month shy of her 34th birthday.
No shit.
So she never got to see it come to fruition, and then Benjamin Franklin's daughter took over and finished the project.
Until Yorktown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of I was like, and then she died at 12. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna happen.
That's I thought it was a little.
What a way to go.
A little bit inside me, I'm like, she would not have survived on the Oregon Trail because she got dysentery. Also,
right.
the worst. Yeah, totally
That's
the
just
worst
a
way to go.
bad,
Just bad. Apparently, also, a lot of people in Philadelphia died of dysentery that year. There was a huge infection that spread. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, totally.
That's shitty.
So she almost did something really awesome.
No, she did. Look, she gets all the
started
credit
it.
for starting
Yeah.
that and for getting those rich bitches
Yeah.
into the war effort
Yeah.
and taking the time to do that. I love the idea of putting your name inside there. It's like, yeah, you're fighting for Margaret.
Yeah. I like that. It's sweet.
I really do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to tell you about a crazy bitch.
All right.
Here I go. I'm going to tell you about Nancy Hart. She's crazy.
Okay.
She was known to have a hot temper. She was rather fearless and evidently had no issue with going aggro if you fucked with her. Yeah. And so what she's known for, it's just one kind of little thing that begins when 6 British soldiers stopped at her cabin in search of an anti-loyalist leader and demanding information like, has this guy been here? Have you seen this guy? And he had, actually, but she's like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, fuck off. I don't even know. He's never been here. Like, leave me alone. So the redcoats pretty much knew she was lying. Probably because she was acting crazy about it. So one of them shot her prize turkey and said, cook this for us, bitch. Yeah. So they came into her cabin. They stacked all their weapons in a corner and demanded something to drink. So she's like, all right, motherfuckers. She gave them wine. She started cooking the bird. And she sent her daughter to go get a bucket of water, for cooking and shit. But she also said, hey, by the way, out there by the creek is a hollowed out tree, and in there is a conch shell. And I need you to blow on that and let all the neighbors know that I got these assholes over here. So that's what the daughter did. And then, I don't know if it's the same daughter or another daughter, came back around the back side of the cabin, near the side. And so Nancy would go over and serve a soldier, and then slyly take one of their rifles and feed it through the wall to her daughter outside.
Yes.
And she just kept doing this.
Yeah.
So they're getting drunk and thinking that they're hot shit or whatever.
Yeah.
And she'd come and serve them and take another gun and feed it to her daughter through the wall. Mm-hmm. And so her daughter's like getting all the guns.
Yeah.
So at one point, the soldiers figured out what was going on. And they rushed to try to grab the remaining guns away from the corner. Mm-hmm. She gave them one warning that if they moved towards her at all, she would shoot them. Mm-hmm. And one guy did. And she did. Mm-hmm. Just fucking shot him. And so then the other ones were like, okay, we'll just stay right here. It's no problem. We're fine. We're just going to hang out. Uh-huh. So she held them there at gunpoint until her husband, Benjamin, came home. And when he got home, he's like, okay, we should just shoot them. We're going to just shoot them all. And she said, no, I don't want to shoot them. I want to hang them.
Oh, psycho. I love it.
So, evidently, she hung the motherfuckers.
Oh, shit.
And that's kind of the end of the story until 1912. Workmen were grading a railroad near the site of the old Hart cabin. They unearthed a neat row of 6 skeletons that lay under the ground nearly like 3 feet deep. Mm-hmm. And they were estimated to be buried there for about 100 years or so.
That's so cool. So it was like a story, but then it was like confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Crazy. Crazy.
She's like, don't come in my house.
Yeah. And shoot my bird. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, that's not an eaten bird. If it's a prize turkey,
it said it was her prize turkey. Or maybe she was saving it for Thanksgiving or something.
Maybe.
But
or
she was
going to
not
sell it
saving
at
it
the
for these guys.
No, fuck those guys.
Yeah, but...
Why waste a... She's like, I'm not going to waste a bullet.
Exactly. And she didn't. She... Yeah. But I'm sure these guys are like, just put the gun down. You're not going to shoot us. And I think they... greatly overestimated or underestimated her because she did. She shot and killed the one guy, and then her husband was like, let's just shoot the rest of them clean, simple, rather painless if they take one to the noggin. Mm-hmm. She's like, nope, we're going to string them up.
Dang.
That's
She's
crazy.
Old school.
Yeah, definitely.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, you still have some time.
Oh, yeah, like
Want to tell me
20
some of their
seconds.
facts? Oh, quick fact about Sybil Ludington that I totally forgot to mention. I'm going to steal your time again.
Go ahead.
She and her sister, their father was like being hunted down, and so she and her sister would sit in the field around the house. This is before she did her ride. Uh-huh. She rescued him from captivity once, and then she and her sister would guard the farm with guns, like hiding in the bushes. So...
I heard that story about her too. Yeah. I think they talked about that in the Mysteries of the Museum thing that I saw, or when I did a deep dive after I saw that, I learned it.
This woman, did she is there anything else about her? We don't
Nancy
know
Hart?
anything. Yeah.
Nope. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
She killed some guys.
Yep.
Oh, well, all right.
I mean, it's kind of a fun story. I wanted a fun story too.
Okay. All right. Pause for a second because I'm gonna turn this up. Alexa. Turn up room.
I don't know how to set living room to that setting.
Alexa, turn up Hannah's room.
Hannah's room doesn't support that.
Alexa, brighten room.
I don't know how to set living room to that setting.
Never mind. We're going to sit in the dark.
You're just going to sit in the dark like the Revolutionary War. They didn't have electricity.
I need a candle. I don't have a candle in here.
The sound card is glowing.
Okay. Well, then my screen is
orange. Yeah. So this is the last one for you.
This is my last one. Yeah.
Okay. Go.
Okay, so I'm going to talk more about this person when we do Native American history. I'm going to tell you about Nanyehi. Okay. Nanyehi is a Cherokee name. She also has an American name, but I'm going to call her Nanyehi for a little while. She also was often called Tsutsukagiska, which means wild rose, which seems shorter. So she was born into a Cherokee tribe, which was a wolf tribe, and she's born pretty high up. Her father is five killer, a Cherokee Delaware man. His one of his parents was white. Where they lived, there was a lot of friendliness with the Americans. Even though Native American tribes had skirmishes with settlers, they still lived in an area where there was some relationship. So she married this guy, Kingfisher, who was from a deer clan, and they had a couple of kids, Five Killer and Catherine. When the children were small. I know. So she just raised the kids. She was basically just like any other Native woman, just trying to like do her thing and whatever. So, because she was just like any other Cherokee woman, she would participate in skirmishes if there were wars.
Sure.
So she joined Kingfisher on a war party to fight the Creek Indians in Georgia. Most of their fighting was infighting for territory because they were losing territory to the settlers.
Sure.
So she aided her husband by chewing on lead bullets to make the end sharp. Okay?
Okay.
Like, that's fucking badass anyway.
Yeah.
So the enemies killed her husband. She grabs his gun, rallies the warriors, leads the charge, and they win this battle.
Okay.
This gets her promoted to Gigau, which means beloved woman, which is a powerful position in the tribal council.
Okay.
She also is thought to be able to speak directly to the Great Spirit. She heads up the Women's Council. She sits on the Council of Chiefs, and she has complete power over any prisoners that they take. In the 1750s, South Carolina colonists built Fort Loudoun, and this is when the Cherokee people live very closely with the settlers.
Okay.
There's many people who marry, including she marries Bryant Ward, who's an English trader who she meets at this time. She has a daughter with him, and she takes the name Nancy Ward. She learns English, and she starts to understand more about Americans, and she believes that the best way for the Cherokee to survive is to live in harmony with the settlers, just as they live in harmony with the earth. So
the settlers
it
are
turns
fucking
out
assholes.
good old Bryant Ward has another wife in South Carolina. So he lives with her for a little while, and they have some kids and whatever, and they have a good time. It seems very it's very amiable that she's just like, okay, whatever, see you later, peace out, because she's been able to choose her own husband, and so for her, it's not a patriarchal society, so there's not a lot of like, she's kind of over it.
Yeah. Okay.
So at this point, this is what she has to do with the Revolutionary War. Because of the skirmishes that were going on with other tribes, she was able to learn of impending attacks on local settlers. So twice she warns the white people that attacks are coming. She also warns a village that they had warred with that British people were coming, and they were going to come and like take over and whatever. And she's credited with saving lives because she was warning people, so they were able to prepare and protect themselves. And while she didn't totally like stop loss of life, she greatly reduced the loss of life, because her real mission in life was to bring peace. The whole time that she was being this leader and participating in the tribal government, her main goal was to get tribal elders to listen and understand that the only way for them to have peace is for them to work together. So by the early 1800s, the Cherokee people had picked up a lot of patriarchal bullshit from the white people, and so the tribe became more patriarchal, and she went to them again in 1819, just before 1819, and asked them again to please to consider peace. They didn't listen, and she ended up having to sell her property, and she died in 1822. So, yeah.
I love that
she
was
ran
all
an
about
inn,
peace.
which was cool.
Oh,
but
that's
yeah,
cool.
I loved that she was all about peace.
I love
and
that she's
I thought it
native.
was really cool.
I'm glad that we're talking about.
Yes, I really wanted to show this kind of spectrum that like I was saying before, like we have this like really modern idea about what life was like and who was participating in everything. And I wanted to include women from every walk of life to show that this was something that impacted everybody.
Yeah.
And if we do it again, it's going to impact everybody. So let's learn from the past and maybe like don't.
Yeah.
But I thought she was cool too, because like she was like, look, let's just get along and like, you know.
And these are my homies.
Yeah.
And no one messes with my homies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought she was pretty cool. Yeah. And I will get into her stories. There's like a lot more to her. So when we, in November, prepare to learn more about her.
Yeah.
Or maybe before.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So you gave me the list of the 5 women that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So that we didn't accidentally double up.
Yeah.
But there were several that you were gonna do, and this was one of them that I was also looking at. So I wanted to make sure we had good representation.
Yeah.
Since we're just talking about women, to then have good representation within there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And now I'm going to talk about a damn white woman.
That's okay.
Yeah, she's cool. No, when I learned more about this chick, I learned that she's different than what I had thought, what I had learned in school. Okay, I'm going to hit start. This is like going to go over 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
All right, start. Okay. All right, I'm going to tell you the true story of Betsy Ross.
Okay.
Because she's cool and different. So one cool thing about her, she was born with the name Elizabeth Griscom. She's not Betsy Ross. I mean, Betsy is a nickname for Elizabeth, and Ross is her married name. So, but she was born Griscom on New Year's Day, 1752 in Philadelphia. Now, why is that important? Do you know? I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, okay.
January 1st, 1752 was the first time that January 1st was New Year's Day. This was the day we switched when the Julian calendar was replaced by the Gregorian calendar. So she's actually one of the first humans to be born on January 1st as a New Year's Day baby.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
That's cool.
Yeah. So that happened on that date. Before that, it was March 25th. Because religious reason. Yes, Jesus. Because March 25th is exactly 9 months until Christmas. And so supposedly that's when the angel came to Mary and said, you're going to have a kid on Christmas Day, which isn't actually Christmas Day. I don't want to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
We could discuss that for a while.
She was the 8th of 17 children. She was a Quaker. She was apprenticed to an upholsterer named William Webster. And upholsterer, that means she made car seats.
Chairs.
She didn't, no, it was all sorts of sewing.
Oh, okay.
All sorts, but they were called upholsterers, evidently. And she was an apprentice. And while working there, she fell in love with fellow apprentice John Ross, who was a nephew of George Ross Jr., one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. So John and Betsy had to elope, and they were married when she was 21. They had to elope because she's a Quaker, and you had to marry another Quaker. And if you didn't, then
I thought
you
the Quakers
were
more open-minded than that.
Dude, shunned, dead to me.
Okay.
So she was shunned by her family because her husband's family were Anglican. So she was expelled from her Quaker congregation and completely shunned by her family, and she and John moved away and started their own upholstery business. 2 years into their marriage, the Revolutionary War started, and her husband John was a member of the Pennsylvania Provincial Militia, and he was assigned to guard guns and munitions, and some gunpowder exploded and killed him. So 2 years into the marriage, she's 24 years old, no children. But get this, she became the sole owner of the business. It didn't go to, don't you have a cousin or an uncle? Isn't there a guy? Is there a dick around? We need a penis.
Yeah.
No, she owned her own company at this point, which is pretty amazing. This is also the time. This is like if I said, "Hey, Betsy Ross," like if I had y'all draw a picture of Betsy Ross, it's like a woman sewing, and she's got little gray ringlets in her hair, right? She's got a bonnet, and she's sewing and sitting in a rocking chair, little cute Betsy Ross. When she did all the flag shit, she was 24, and evidently she was pretty hot. Okay.
Well, didn't everybody have gray hair? Weren't they all like powdering their wigs or
Washington
whatever?
didn't. He didn't wear a wig.
Oh.
His hair was the same color as Kent's. His eyes were the same color as Kent's. He kind of looked like Kent.
Bizarro world.
Kind of. I know. When Kent dressed up like Washington, it was kind of bizarro world.
Yeah.
Okay. So she is widowed at 24, no children. She became the owner of the upholstery business, which is rad. She began making tents and blankets, repairing uniforms, and constructing musket balls for the Continental Army. One badass kind of slutty story is that historians believe that Betsy was the, quote, beautiful young widow who served to distract the Hessian Colonel Karl Emil Ulrich von Donop by spending Christmas Eve 1776 with him and diverting him and his troops from Washington's successful assault on Trenton on Christmas Day. And if so, she really took one for the troops because evidently that guy was a real piece of shit, like bastard.
So every time you say Hessian, I'm totally picturing Christopher Walken from Sleepy Hollow because he plays the Hessian.
Yeah.
And every time you say that, that's the picture in my head. So.
Okay. It's probably a good picture.
It's creepy.
Yeah. Nope. Fuck you. I'm not even like halfway through. Okay. On June 15th, 1777, Betsy married her second husband. He was a seaman named Joseph Ashburn. It was also mentioned that he was a privateer.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
So that's a pirate, right?
Yeah.
So Betsy Ross was married to a pirate.
Well, he was a seaman.
Yeah. So
You said seaman and privateer. I don't know what you expect me to do about that.
I know. In 1780, his ship was captured by the Royal Navy. He was charged with treason and jailed in Old Mill Prison in England. And while he was there, his first daughter with Betsy, named Zilla, died, and another daughter, Eliza, was born. So that sucks for everyone involved.
Wait a second. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
she was already pregnant.
Okay. He
All
knocked
right.
her up and then
Okay.
went and played with seamen and his privates.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everybody was against the king. So my assumption is that he's a privateer only so much as that he is a loyalist to the American cause and is on a ship that maybe belonged to the British.
I don't know.
Okay.
So, her husband died at the Old Mill Prison in 1780, and a fellow prisoner named John Claypool came to America to tell Betsy the news that her husband had died. And 3 years later, she married Claypool.
Saw that coming.
And they went on to have 5 daughters together. Okay, so Betsy's mother, father, sister Deborah all died in Philadelphia's 1793 yellow fever epidemic. And also John Claypool, her husband, died in 1817. And Betsy, who had worked all along as an upholsterer and seamstress, kept her shop open for another decade after his death before retiring because of her poor eyesight. So, let's get down to what we know her for.
Okay.
The first mention of Betsy in conjunction with the sewing of the American flag is in a paper written by her grandson, William Canby. And this was presented by him to the Historical Society of Pennsylvania in March of 1870. It's like almost 100 years after the fact. So people are like, maybe. It's kind of like your thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe they did that.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those like stories that gets passed down in the family.
And then it becomes fact.
Yeah, because the Nanyehi stuff is like, a lot of the stuff I found is like, this was my 5th great grandmother.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, Nancy.
Well, this paper did mention family recollections from Betsy's family members that recounted the tale that we all know of how George Washington with several other founding fathers, they're probably farmers too.
Some of them were farmers.
Visited Betsy in her shop and commissioned her to sew the first American flag. And in Canby's story, George Washington originally wanted a 6-pointed star on the stars to be 6 pointed stars. But Betsy, the expert in sewing, demonstrated a quick, simple method of cutting a 5-pointed star with a single snip of her scissors. Like, instead of having to do this like crazy thing, she's like, nope, you just fold here, fold, 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 snip, 5 stars. Yeah, 5-pointed stars. So, like I said, she's usually portrayed as this little old lady in a bonnet and a rocking chair sewing the stars and stripes, but in reality, she was quite the badass. She had quite the life. She was a businesswoman who kept her upholstery shop going through times of war and epidemics. She outlived 3 husbands, and she raised like 5 daughters. So she died in her sleep on January 30th, 1836, at the age of 84. Nice old age. She was buried in the Quaker burial ground near 5th and Locust, but her remains were moved to Mount Moriah Cemetery in 1857 before being moved again a third time and brought home to a courtyard adjacent to the Betsy Ross house in time for our bicentennial in 1975. So her story is mostly steeped in myth until March of 2015. The associate curator of Mount Vernon, George Washington's Virginia estate, unearthed the receipt for £15, 12 shillings, and a sixpence made out to John Ross of Philadelphia for the linens for 3 beds, including canopies, sheets, and covers made from cotton, calico, and lined with muslin. The only John Ross in Philly at the time was Betsy's husband. Okay, so historians now favoring the story, the Betsy and the flag and all this, they loved hearing this because, as this associate curator, Amanda Isaac, said, quote, "It's the only documentation we have that these 2 icons of the American Revolution, Betsy and George, actually met. Before it was just mythology."
That's cool.
So it's not like, and sew this flag. Although she was commissioned. They found other receipts that she was commissioned to make a shitload of flags. So they didn't just pull that out of their ass, or her grandson specifically. Like, she made a shitload of flags. Now, did she design it? Was it her design? Did she figure out exactly what it should be? That's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
But she definitely would have met or had some dealings with George. And she definitely sewed some flags.
So how funny it is that, we're telling these stories about all of these different people. We've covered, 10 different people. And first of all, like, everybody was talking to George Washington. Like, what the fuck was he doing? Was he not fighting wars? Like, how does he have time to, like, go around and talk to all these people?
I read Chernow's biography of him, and it's fucking insane. It was like New York and Philadelphia had, like, 10 people.
Yeah.
And they all talked.
It's like, everybody
even
knew
like
each other.
Burr and Hamilton.
Like,
they had a law office together.
Yeah.
Like, they were lawyers together.
Well, the fact that Sampson knew Paul Revere.
Yeah.
Like, they were friends. So,
and I read some that's like,
and
this person knew Benjamin Franklin's son, and this person knew his daughter, and this person knew Thomas Jefferson's blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think it was, especially in society, which we may be talking, not like Nancy Hart, the crazy woman, but, a lot of this is society people.
Yeah.
And you're going to know each other.
So, it's all the rich white people.
But reading Chernow's biography of Washington, it's just like the same names over and over again, walking in the same circles.
It's like watching British television.
Yeah, with the same 12
Where it's
actors.
like, I know all of these people.
I wanted to talk about just one more person. I'm just going to throw this out here. This person was named Casimir Pulaski.
Okay.
Polish-born American Revolutionary War hero and the namesake for a holiday in Chicago.
Okay.
But for over 200 years, no one knew where this so-called father of the American cavalry was buried. But in the 1990s, researchers think that they located his grave until they examined the skeleton in the plot, and it appeared to be female.
What?
Yeah, so now researchers say that the skeleton is indeed Pulaski's, who was this Polish-born soldier. That it is indeed Pulaski's, and that the general may have been intersex.
Ah,
Isn't that neat?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Warsaw native first made a name for himself by fighting for his home country of Poland against Russia. And then in his early 30s, Pulaski traveled to Paris and met Benjamin Franklin because, right?
Ben
Everyone
Franklin
knows
is the shit.
everyone.
Yeah.
Who convinced him to join the British colonies, War for Independence. Pulaski arrived in Philly in 1777 and served as the general in the Continental Army until 1779, when he died in Georgia from wounds received during the Battle of Savannah. So some historical records said that he was buried at sea, while others said that it was in an unmarked grave in Savannah. And then in 1996, anthropologist Virginia Hutton Estabrook of Georgia Southern University and her colleagues discovered an unmarked grave and thought it could be his. But when they opened it and looked at the skeleton, they thought the pelvic bones looked more female than male, and further tests tried to identify the person's sex came back inconclusive. But then years later, Estabrook and her colleagues found that the skeleton's DNA matched a relative of Pulaski who died in the 19th century. They now believe that Pulaski may have been intersex, meaning he would have had a range of sex characteristics.
And then been raised as whatever the parents' choice.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe
Which at
whatever.
the time it makes sense to raise any. I mean, if there's any question, they're going to go male.
Yeah. Yeah. So it, in addition to having like a female skeletal, we know that he also had male characteristics like facial hair and baldness. But how interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
My first question, I'm such like a creepy weirdo because I'm like, tell me about the genitalia now.
It was a skeleton that they like.
No, I know
evidently,
you can't.
Like,
You're
I
not
want to
gonna
do
have
some
anything
more
there.
research. I found this last night. I'm like, well, if we're talking about, if we're representing everyone, this is someone that, I also want to represent.
Yeah.
But now I kind of want to do a deeper dive on this person and see if, were they married? And see if there are any personal stories or diaries.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Because
That would be
all
interesting.
they did was open up a coffin and go, oh my gosh, wait, that looks more womanly in the hips. Got burthen hips.
They did say that though, like intersex is definitely like more likely than anything else. They said that about King Tut as well. That
but he was just fucked
Oh,
up.
he was so fucked up.
Oh
Man,
my God.
inbreeding.
So
It's
sad.
not even once. It's
So,
just
yeah. Yeah.
I feel bad for his babies mostly, but because like
That didn't survive.
no, they were just like they were
Like him and Habsburg. And I just watched
Yeah.
The Last Tsars on Netflix, and there's some of that going on.
I know there's hemophilia when you're talking about the last czars. I
Alexei.
don't know if I'm ready to watch it. Like I have such a fantastical concept of the whole last czars because of the Anastasia thing. Like growing up when I did the stories of Anastasia, where it was like this whimsical,
And
like
Anna
any
Anderson.
anyone could be her, and then this horrible story about the girls being shot and they couldn't kill them, and like now of course we know it was because they had like gems sewn into they basically had like bulletproof vests on.
Yeah, they did.
So
They were ricocheting off.
yeah, but the story is just like so gruesome with this like added layer of whimsy because we're talking about royalty, so it paints this kind of like
And that's what I had always thought. I've done a deepish dive on her because that's my name. And that's who I was named after. Which is now it's just like fucking boggles my mind. But this story is so, like, it starts in like 1854, the story, the Netflix thing.
yeah.
So I don't want to give any spoilers, but watch it. Like
Yeah.
if you're a fan of history, which you're listening to this, so you probably are.
yeah.
And it will give you information that I didn't even know after kind of studying this. Because I always thought it was like, oh, how sad. There's
Yeah.
this cute family, and there's, Nikolai and Alexandra, and they seem like, they married for love, which
Yeah.
was really rare.
And then they didn't really care about what was going on with the country because they just loved each other.
Yeah, they were complete fucking dipshits.
They were totally just like rich people who shouldn't be in charge of anything.
Anything.
It's so sad though
Yeah.
because it's like
Okay,
it's not really their
no
fault.
spoilers. No spoilers.
Okay.
Go watch.
Also, I started the Lister.
Oh yeah, Gentleman Jack.
It's hot though.
It's right.
It's a little bit like I'm like, is this porn?
Little bit.
It's good though. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on this journey with us. This
Yes.
revolutionary
Did we
journey.
stay under an hour?
No. Oh God, no.
sad face. Too bad for you guys.
Yeah. No, we are way over an hour. So thank you. Just like the war, this lasted too long.
But it was for a good cause.
It's a great cause. And telling you about all these badass women.
Yes.
So, speaking of that, y'all stay badass too and fight your battles like you do every day. And just know that we're behind you playing the fife and the drum and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So anyway, if you enjoyed this, go leave us a review. We need some reviews.
5 stars, preferably.
5-star, like a general.
That's right.
Give us a 5-star. Give us a review. Send us stories of the badass people in your life. And if you happen to be our listener in Kazakhstan, drop us a line.
Please.
We are dying to know.
Please, we want to know who you are.
You're loyal. You download every fucking episode. We love you so much. Just tell us who you are.
Yes.
Because we're dying to know. All right, everyone. That's it. Until next time, keep up the good fight and stay slutty.